we know somewhere around 1100 BC, this civilization passed away, declined. We're not sure all the reasons why it did, but we have a suspicion that it's part of the general Bronze Age collapse. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that because it's a key to understanding Homer and the Iliad. Here's our map, and you can see where Mycenae is. And it's on the Peloponnese. That's that triangular part of Greece. And if you look to the right of the map, you see across the Aegean Sea, beyond the islands, thousands of islands that stand between mainland Greece and the coast of Asia Minor, over there is Troy. And in the great end of Mycenaean civilization, in the decline of Mycenaean civilization, in the migration out of Greece to get away from whatever was happening, all those different Greek areas moved across that sea over to the coast of Asia Minor, put in parentheses Turkey, but we're not going to call it Turkey because the Greeks and the Turks don't want to be close to each other, so we'll call it Asia Minor, coast of Asia Minor. And you can see all these different Greek dialects of Greek are carried across the sea and over to those coasts, including Doric and Ionic, which come from Athens. And so the result is that you ended up with a whole coast of Asia Minor being very Greek, full of Greeks, and in the middle of it is Troy, center of what we're talking about tonight. So in other words, our story tonight and the place that matters so much to our story is created when these Greeks move across the islands and over to that coast at about the year 1000 or something close to it. And so here's a view of Troy. We're up on the top of Troy right now, and we're looking down at the plain. There's a model of the city of Troy, and there are the sheep, and there's the high point of the city of Troy. Now, Bronze Age collapse. Recent writing and research has made it more and more clear that this change at Mycenae at about 1200 BC, 1100 BC, wasn't just Mycenae. This change was going on all over the Eastern Mediterranean. That something was happening in the Eastern Mediterranean everywhere at about 1200 and 1100, and that maybe the story of the fall of Troy is part of it. That the war and the disruption and the decline, all of that is actually connected to the Bronze Age collapse. And the Bronze Age collapse now, in very recent history writing, this is all very new, 20 years old, 10 years old, is a transition in the Aegean region, Eastern Mediterranean, late Bronze Age to early Iron that historians, and there's a series of names, will investigate. The one who matters most to us is Robert Drews, because he has a multiple series of great books, but he has a wonderful book on the end of the Bronze Age. So if you get inspired from tonight's lecture and you'd like to go find out more about the Bronze Age collapse, go get Robert Drews' book, The End of the Bronze Age. And he describes the collapse as the worst disaster in ancient history, more calamitous than the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. A number of people have spoken of the cultural memories of the disaster as stories of a lost golden age. In other words, the age before the Mycenaean is a golden age. Now, what about causes? What could be all the causes that would come together to explain this catastrophic change in the whole of the Eastern Mediterranean from 1200 down to, say, 1000? Possible causes of the Bronze Age collapses on the screen. Number one, volcanoes. Now we know about those. They're the ones that created Santorini. That's how Santorini exploded up out of the ocean. So we know there were catastrophic volcanoes that had a huge impact on Crete, neighboring Greek islands. So we know about that, number one. Number two, earthquakes. I have all kinds of documents on earthquakes, huge, terrible, devastating earthquake. Number three, and which could be the repercussion after the volcano eruption, which can block out the sun, drought everywhere. So terrible reports of drought. You get it in the Hebrew Bible. You get these very reports in Egypt of terrible drought, massive migration, collapse of trade. So the whole wonderful, prospering Greek trading region is suddenly thrown into disaster, and this hurts Greek terrible. So trade collapse, bronze shortage, an inability to make bronze, inability to get the tin, and so now suddenly the whole metallurgical switches to the cheaper iron. So that's number 4. How do we jump to number 6? Must be 4 must be mixed in there with 5. Changes in warfare. That is the move away from Bronze Age charioteers and toward iron and more democratic armies, that is, armies made up of infantry rather than cavalry using their horses. Number 7 and number 8 are just interesting possibilities, and that is that the whole story of the Jews and the migration and the conditions in Egypt that we hear about, all that may be part of the Bronze Age collapse. The conditions in Egypt that we hear about, famine and plague and all the terrible things happening. And then 8, that the Trojan War may also be part of the Bronze Age collapse. So it's interesting how this connects together all these stories that we know about, and out of it, one could see Odysseus as the quintessential symbolic figure of the period right after the Bronze Age collapse, because the story of Greece in the aftermath is migration. The great Greek migration all over the Mediterranean as a result of this series of disasters. And our map here shows us that in this period right after, so that would be 900, 800, 700, Homer, in this period right after 900, 800, 700, you have this huge Greek diaspora that spreads all over the Mediterranean, all these areas, Greece itself, southern Italy, Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, the southern coast of France, and eastern coast of Spain, and then across to the other side. All of this is part of that moment right after the Bronze Age collapse. And that's why I say Odysseus is the key figure. He would be the key figure in this story. And remember, part of this new world that will be this story is Asia Minor. That is, the Greeks go to Asia Minor just as much as any place else. I'll go back. You see there, see the map there? So that's Asia Minor right there. And that becomes a new important part of the Greek diaspora, the new Greek colonies. And in this place will develop a whole new culture, a whole new Greek culture, Greek language, connection back to the older culture, but a new culture in these new cities along the coast of Asia Minor. Homer in Smyrna, you can see that on the map there in the upper left corner where Smyrna is, on the coast of Asia Minor. 800 BC, something about 800 BC. And so Homer will be part of that new Greek world. So we've already described here in our first hour a number of chapters in the Greek story: the Bronze Age charioteers, the Age of Heroes at Mycenae, the Bronze Age collapse, the diaspora, and the creation of a whole new world on the coast of Asia Minor.